When Ada woke up, she was lying on a mat in her mother's house, surrounded by a few sympathetic women who had taken pity on her. Her throat felt raw, and her body was weak. But she was alive, and that meant one thing: the spirits had spared her. She had survived the ritual, but the village was still not convinced. They believed the spirits might be slow to punish her and that her survival was only temporary. Ada's heart was heavy. She knew that even though she had passed the test, the whispers and hateful stares would not end. She would always be known as the woman who was suspected of killing her husband. And Ebuka, the one who had planted the seed of doubt, walked around as if he had done nothing wrong. He still acted as the caring brother, playing the role of the grieving sibling who had to watch his brother's widow continue to live in their midst. Days turned into weeks, and Ada noticed something strange. The land that Kingsley had planned to buy was suddenly being discussed as a new project. She overheard Ebuka talking to some men about purchasing it himself. The words were like a cold knife in her chest. How could he talk about buying the land so soon after his brother's death? It didn't sit right with her. It was then that Ada began to suspect that Ebuka had something to do with Kingsley's death. She decided to quietly seek the truth. She started talking to people who had seen Kingsley on the day he died, piecing together small bits of information. Some of the villagers mentioned seeing Ebuka with Kingsley that evening, walking together down the old road near the river. Others said that Ebuka had been acting strangely since the incident, often slipping away to places where no one would see him. One afternoon, as she was drawing water from the stream, an old woman approached her. The woman was known for her sharp tongue and had always kept a close eye on everyone in the village. Ada, the old woman said in a low voice, "Be careful. There are things you do not know about Ebuka. He is not what he seems." The old woman's words echoed in Ada's mind as she went about her days. She continued her quiet investigation, and soon, she found someone who had seen something important on that rainy night. It was a young boy who often walked at the riverbank. He told her he had seen Ebuka arguing with Kingsley near the river, just before the rain started. "I saw Ebuka push him," the boy said, his voice trembling. Kingsley fell, and then Ebuka just walked away. The boy's story sent a chill down Ada's spine. Ebuka had indeed played a part in her husband's death. But how could she prove it to the village, especially after everyone had already made up their minds about her guilt? She knew she needed evidence, something that would expose Ebuka for who he truly was. Ada decided to confront Ebuka herself, but not directly. She knew he was a clever and dangerous man. Instead, she spread word through a few trusted friends that she had found new evidence about Kingsley's death. She made sure the news would reach Ebuka's ears, hoping it would provoke him into revealing something. That evening, Ebuka came to her house, his face twisted with anger. "What is this I hear about you finding evidence?" he demanded. "What are you trying to do, Ada? Are you trying to bring more shame to our family?" Ada looked him straight in the eyes, her voice steady but firm. "I am trying to find justice for my husband," she replied. "I know you were with Kingsley the night he died. I know you argued with him." For a moment, Ebuka's face showed a flash of panic, but he quickly masked it with a sneer. "You have no proof," he spat. "No one will believe the words of a woman who was forced to drink corpse water." But as he turned to leave, Ada noticed something unusual about his reaction. It wasn't just anger, it was fear. Ebuka was hiding something more, and she knew she was getting closer to the truth. The next day, Ada gathered the elders and a few respected men from the village. She had arranged a meeting near the riverbank where the young boy had witnessed the argument. With the boy present, she recounted what he had seen. At first, some of the elders dismissed it, saying a child's word was not enough. But then, the old woman who had warned Ada came forward. "I saw them too," she said, stepping out of the shadows. "I saw Ebuka leaving the river that night, his clothes muddy and wet." The village fell silent. Ebuka tried to defend himself, raising his voice and accusing Ada of making everything up. But as he ranted, his words began to betray him. He said things about that night only someone who was there would know, details that Ada had not shared. The more he spoke, the more the elders began to doubt him. Finally, one of the elders turned to Ebuka. "If you have nothing to hide," he said, "you will undergo the same ritual that Ada did. If you are innocent, you will survive." Ebuka's face drained of color. He stumbled backward, stammering, "No. I will not do it." But the villagers had already made up their minds. Ebuka was forced to drink the same water used to wash Kingsley's body. He struggled, trying to fight off the men who held him down, but they were stronger. The water was poured into his mouth, and as he choked on it, the truth of his evil actions seemed to come to light. Days later, Ebuka fell ill. His body weakened, and he could no longer keep up his facade. In his final moments, he confessed, speaking through a voice thick with pain. "I did it," he whispered. "I was jealous of Kingsley. I couldn't stand seeing him succeed, so I pushed him." His words hung heavy in the air, sealing his fate and clearing Ada's name. The village elders gathered once more and proclaimed Ada innocent. The shame and suffering she had endured finally lifted. Though the wounds of losing Kingsley would never fully heal, she found some peace knowing that justice had been served. The villagers, who had once looked at her with suspicion, now came to her with apologies and words of comfort. Ada forgave them, but she never forgot. The story of what happened served as a reminder that the truth will always find a way to come to light, no matter how deeply it is buried. And the village learned a valuable lesson: not every hand that reaches out in kindness is a friend, sometimes it hides a knife. The story ends with Ada finding some solace, but the weight of betrayal remains a reminder of the darkness that envy and malice can bring. The moral stands clear: trust is precious, and the truth, no matter how painful, will always prevail.